We are so back, baby. Saturday morning, the sun is up. I got my PSL. Had to. It's a fall. It's fall time. And my wife, bless her heart, tried to drag me to the farmer's market this morning. She doesn't get it. She's like some boosters, well-meaning, full of good intentions, but totally trying to pull my head off the game. Meanwhile, we're in pregame prep mode here. This is the bunker, as we say, because this is vital. The team, the program, the performance, everything rides on focus like this. And if that wasn't enough, we got Corso's last college game day ever. So while my wife is out there smelling kale and getting some bread, I'm in here breaking down matchups, X's and O's, and building a mental blueprint for the big games today. So we don't get a lot of these Saturdays, but we are back. And if you love college football, that's why you're here. So I'm going to break down the 5 biggest games of the day, some things that I've noticed about it. If you like some of this simple content, go ahead and follow along. I'm just going to get you in and out of what you need to know for the games today. This Texas-Ohio State game is the big one, so we got to start with it. You ever notice how the game that hurts you last is often the one that you're best prepared for? I think that's Texas this week. The Longhorns faced this exact Ohio State roster in the semifinals last season, and that kind of knowledge, I think, is a little bit of ammunition. They know what worked and what didn't, and more importantly, they know where they can add some wrinkles on offense, defense, and special teams. Sure, Ohio State has that too, but I think there's something to say about this being the last game Texas played, and Ohio State obviously had a game after that, but this was the last scout that Texas had. Defense is where Texas can quietly control this game. They've added depth across the D-line with plenty of transfers inside, and the rotation, I think, keeps pressure fresh. I love their 2 deep up front, and that forces Ohio State to adapt in real time, which can open the door for stunts, blitzes that maybe Ohio State hasn't seen before, especially because this is a new look Texas front in a lot of ways. It's one thing to have a great defense. It's another to have a defense that can physically and mentally wear you down throughout the course of the game. And so obviously we have something that we have to note about Texas in this one. Defensively, they're going to be strong. Red zone execution could be the subtle difference maker in this one. If you remember back in the Cotton Bowl last year, Texas had a goal line shot that didn't convert, and that single moment literally defined the outcome of the game. This offseason, they've drilled the red zone over and over. You hear Sark talk about it. You hear the program talk about it. And I think with Arch at the quarterback, you can get a little bit more creative in the red zone, utilizing his legs and things like that. Look to see a little bit of an improvement in the red zone and how that could swing the game. I'm looking at maybe 1 or 2 of these times, rather than settle for a field goal, you get a touchdown. That's 8 points that wins games. Okay, so we need to see that for Texas. It's not sexy. It might not be headline grabbing, but it's exactly the kind of edge that can win close contests. Right now, I'm seeing it around Texas plus 1.5 and the over-under around 47.5. I do kind of like a lower scoring game. I think the narrative is clear that this would be a game that's controlled by tempo, trenches battle, situational football. I think Texas's continuity and depth might give them the ability to manage the game on their terms, which then in turn forces Ohio State to play to their script rather than write their own. And don't forget about coaching. Everyone talks about Arch Manning, Jeremiah Smith, but the real story could be, this sideline chess match. Texas brings back a ton of its coaching staff. And under Sark, they have experience and insight into Ohio State's tendency. Meanwhile, Ohio State is working through a ton of staff turnover. Texas might just be reaching. I think they're going to dictate a lot in this game. And they've seen the adjustment Ohio State made last year. I think they know the things that they're going to try to do towards Texas this year. But at the end of the day, the game won't be won by home field or by a single highlight. It's basic execution, smarter rotations, and it's the 2 best teams in the country, in my honest opinion. I think Texas has the advantage of preparation, learned experience, and a chance to turn familiarity into a weapon. They did a great job shutting down Jeremiah Smith last year. I think they're going to do a lot of the same this year. Obviously, Jeremiah Smith's going to get the ball. They're going to find a way to get him the ball. And if they can make the right reads, rotate their defense effectively, and execute in key moments, I think they leave Columbus with a statement win. We're not talking about a game full of fireworks, but like discipline, control, doing the little things that can win the big one. So I'm curious to see how this one goes. I'm going to lean Texas a little bit in this one. I think they're just better right now. And my Wink 20 has Ohio State at number 1, Texas at number 2, but I'm going to take Texas for obvious reasons. So let's talk about the Syracuse-Tennessee game that's coming up a little bit after that. I've got some notes kind of just on my phone that I can reference as I'm going through this, so I can just do this whole thing in one take. You see me kind of going forth right here. Syracuse-Tennessee. This is a weird opener for me. Sure, Tennessee is a 2-touchdown favorite, but I don't know exactly how I feel about this one. Who can handle more chaos? Tennessee's tempo is going to be their calling card. New quarterback in Joey Aguilar is going to bring the heat in a lot of ways. But they have a lot of inexperience in that system. Fran Brown is not just familiar with this Tennessee pace because he lived it back at Georgia, but I think he's going to be able to script his team to respond before they react. Syracuse might not keep pace indefinitely, but they're definitely going to hang around quite a bit at the beginning of this one. They've, I think, done a really good job of, Fran Brown's a great coach. They're going to be disciplined and not necessarily super flashy. The X's and O's angle that I'm kind of looking at for this one is the trenches. Tennessee's offensive line has 4 new starters, but the talent is very much there. They want to push the orange around early, establish the run, set up play action, and Tennessee's success depends on those gaps forming. But Syracuse can disrupt that rhythm with a pretty sound defense that I think I have a lot of trust in. Their tackling's improved under Brown year over year. That tackling approach could turn run defense from a liability into a bend, don't break asset and could keep them hanging around a little bit early. On the other side, Syracuse might have gotten worse at every single offensive position. Steve Angeli's in, and he's one of the most intriguing parts of this matchup. He brings Notre Dame poise, operating in tight windows. I think he has the opportunity to carve up defenses, but I think consistency is going to be a battle because Tennessee is deep on the defensive line, and I think that they're going to do a great job of pressuring Syracuse throughout this game. I think overall, what ends up defining this game could be potentially, turnovers, penalties. Tennessee had discipline issues in 2024. A lot of drives would halt because of these penalties, which would cost them momentum. Curious to see if that can allow Syracuse to stick around. And against a Syracuse squad that thrives on scrappy, opportunistic plays, I think those mistakes could be magnified. So if the Vols drop on a conversion or they give up field position deep, I think that game could swing into a margin of error. I'm obviously going to pick Tennessee in this one, but that is a really big spread. So I'm going to lean Syracuse in the points right now. Subject to change. You better go check out my X for my official plays as, we're down to 2 hours before kickoff. But right now I lean Syracuse a lot in this one. I'm going to plant my flag on them. Tennessee could be something this year, but I don't know. There's something to say about Syracuse, Fran Brown, a lot of points. So not a lot of fireworks. I think it's going to be a low-scoring one. I think if Tennessee plays sharp, they could win comfortably, but I think Syracuse flies a little bit under the radar in this one as well. Moving on to the Bama-Florida State game. Oh, baby. I am excited about this one. What do we know about Florida State? This is a 2-win team. I don't know how much I can trust. My biggest question isn't necessarily if Alabama wins, but it's if they stomp Florida State so bad that they actually look like a national title contender. If they do, stamp them, put them in. They are one of the favorites to win the title if so. If not, and Florida State hangs around, I've got my questions about Bama. So what I'm watching from the X's and O's, I think there's something to say about Ty Simpson being the starting quarterback for this group. And that is, Kalen DeBoer could have gone into the portal and gotten a quarterback, but he didn't because I think he trusts Ty Simpson under center. Now, I think, are going to see a little bit cleaner pro-style precision from a quarterback. Their offensive line is legit, I think, the best in the country right now. So I think they're going to run a really controlled, methodical offense. If he's cool in the pocket, makes some smart throws, I think we're eyeballing a team that is in championship rhythm. Florida State, though, on the other hand, what are we going to see? How are they going to counter with Gus Malzahn's tempo-heavy offense, Tony White's aggressive 3-3-5 that's designed to really spring blitzes early? I think Alabama's defensive line, featuring some household names, can pressure from anywhere. What exactly is a young Florida State offensive line going to do to dictate tempo, especially when Bama has the depth for 4 quarters to overwhelm them? Rain's in the forecast. I think it's enough to muddy up a quick strike aerial game from one of these two. Tommy Castellanos, I need to see it from him today. But Florida State's best shot lies in forcing some of these flag drives, mental errors, and just hanging around because they're at home. I got Alabama easily in this one. I don't think we can expect anything from Florida State yet. A ruthless, disciplined performance early is a statement for the Tide, and I think if Simpson is sharp, Bama's line dominates, and the defense controls tempo, that feels like a contender, and everybody's calling Bama a contender this year. So I think they play crisp, impose their will on all 3 phases, so I got the Tide pretty easily with the spread in this one. Moving on to Clemson, LSU in Death Valley. Clemson's favored. It's their house. They bring in some continuity that I love, but LSU brings enough heat to make it more than just a home team stroll. Let's dig into the trenches first. That's where this game starts or ends. Clemson's offensive line is as polished as it gets. And I think that's something to say about these really big-time contenders. We have a lot of returning starters, experience, cohesion, and the run game is going to be solid. They're going to be able to protect Cade. On the flip side, LSU's offensive front is newer. They're still building chemistry, and they're going on the road in a tough environment. That means something. Clemson controls the line of scrimmage. They unlock everything. I like Adam Randall potentially being a difference maker in this one, finding the seams. Cade Klubnik dropping bombs with rhythm and confidence. But LSU counters with an aggressive defensive front. I think they have a ton of weapons on offense because if LSU is going to win this game, it has to be a shootout. If Clemson is it crisp, LSU might bend and don't break into some early damage. This is Cade Klubnik's world, but Garrett Nussmeier, I think, could make some things interesting in this one. We're going to learn early if LSU is a legit title contender, like some people think they are, or, this game tells me everything. What exactly are we going to see as far as Nussmeier is concerned? If Clemson's edge rush and linebackers can close some windows off, Nussmeier could look like a car stuck in neutral in some ways. So here's where I kind of lean and where I think things end. I'm going to take Clemson at home. I think the points at home really is the difference maker in this one, and I think Clemson is one of the top 4 teams in the country. I have LSU at number 8 right now in my Wink 20. But it's going to be interesting. I think Death Valley matters. I think Clemson's home field magic is real. They're nearly untouchable under the lights. LSU's really opened the season poorly, 0-5 in season openers under Brian Kelly. Big stage, national spotlight, a history that rings similar to deja vu. I think that atmosphere brings pressure. That pressure forces errors, especially early. I got Clemson minus the points in this one. So not too terribly concerned. LSU can pull one outright, but give me Clemson in this one. The last game of the night that I am pumped, excited about, I am all over Utah this year. So I need to see it early from Devon Dampier and company. This game in the Rose Bowl, I think, means a lot more, and you better stay up. We haven't had football for months. So why would you not stay up at 11 Eastern to watch this game? This is what matters. This is where some of you are going to try to get some tokens back when you lose them all betting on the games earlier in the day. But I got to watch whether Utah looks like a contender in the Big 12, if they're willing to impose their will, or if their opener can be an early identity flashpoint that, they're not for real this year. Let's start where this game gets decided. Again, line play. It all starts up front. Utah's offensive line is a quiet, dominant force. Spencer Fano, Caleb Lemieux, I love what they have up front. And that's kind of, if you have a great, experienced offensive line with a quarterback that can make plays, I'm probably going to pick you. That's just how I go. Devon Dampier has the ball, dual threat quarterback, had 20 rushing touchdowns last year under offensive coordinator Jason Beck's scheme. They bring tempo, deception. This is a different look Utah group. Meanwhile, UCLA's offensive line is thin. They have to protect Nico Iamaleava in his first year as the starter. I think Utah drastically has the trenches battle won, and that's why I lean them early in this one. Utah's identity on defense is still rolling. They have a disciplined 4-2-5 that banks on assignment soundness. They're going to make open field tackles. They're going to force turnovers in big moments. And I struggle to find a way where UCLA can be successful in this one because Nico doesn't have the weapons that he did at Tennessee, and Utah is just going to be sound on defense. For UCLA to win this game, they're going to try to crank tempo, inject some pace. They need to convert short fields, play fast, avoid some of Utah's physicality from outside zone runs. But if Utah wins gap control and keeps lanes clean, they will win this game, and I think handily. I am going to go with Utah minus the 5.5. That is going to be an official play from me. I think they're going to be dominant on defense. The offensive identity behind the big O line makes a difference. And I got Utah pretty firmly in control of this one. This is why you can't just box score watch these games. You got to see the little things. Who owns the trenches, who rotates cleanly on defense, who executes in the red zone. That's where championships start in week 1. If you like diving into games this way, beyond the surface, into the real levers that decide outcomes, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe. We're just getting started, and I'll be right here. Probably going to start doing these a little bit earlier than on Saturday morning, but I had a busy week, so follow along. Good to see you. Have a great Saturday.